An innocent conversation, a knee-jerk reaction to a falling toddler, and the desperation of an attention-seeking mother during an impromptu after-dinner trip to Walmart forever changed the life of Mahendra Patel, a law-abiding citizen in Cobb County, Georgia. Mr. Patel has been gracious enough to sit down with me to tell his side of the story, and it will absolutely blow your mind. Let's talk about it. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Southern Draw Law. My name is James White, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, former police officer. Several months back, I covered the original story of Mahendra Patel. This is a very detailed case. So if you haven't seen my original video or the update video that I did on the case, you may want to take a pause here. Just go watch the videos, link to the description, and then come back when you have time so you'll have everything in context. Mr. Patel, who was at the time the sole caretaker of his elderly mother, went to Walmart after dinner for a specific brand of Tylenol that was the only thing that could help with whatever condition she was dealing with. He spent less than 15 minutes inside the store, and while there, interacted with a woman who would nearly ruin his life. Caroline Miller is a 26-year-old mother of 2 children who had commandeered a mobility scooter, otherwise reserved for handicapped patrons of Walmart, and was attempting to operate the scooter while she was holding her 2 small children. And she was not doing a very good job of controlling it. Not being the person who ordinarily deals with medicine because his wife's a doctor and happened to be out of town, Mr. Patel just stopped and asked Miss Miller if she'd be willing to help him find this specific type of rapid-release Tylenol. During their brief conversation, Miller's child, in response to an erratic movement of the scooter, began to fall to the floor. Instinctively, as a father, Mr. Patel caught the child and kept him from falling to the floor. Some 30 minutes later, after Patel had found the Tylenol, interacted with Miller a second time, in addition to interacting with several other people, including the person who does loss prevention or the greeter at the door, paying for his items with his personal credit card, Miller still called 911 and accused Patel of attempting to kidnap her child. Now, all of it was on video. All of it was obviously not what she said happened, and yet the police still sought a warrant, arrested Patel for kidnapping, jailed him for nearly 6 weeks after a direct presentment indictment, and sent his life into an uncontrolled spiral that nearly ended everything he spent his whole life working to achieve. I am honored to have an opportunity to bring you his side of the story, so please allow me to introduce you to Mahendra Mick Patel. So joining me now is Mr. Mahendra Patel. He goes by Mick. So I guess the first thing I want to do is just sort of ask you to tell us who you are. How would you describe yourself if someone asked you to tell me who Mick Patel is?
Yeah, my name is again Mahendra Patel. I go by Mick, and I live in Kennesaw for the last 21 years. I came to U.S. some 32 years ago for a better life with my family. I went to graduate school here. I'm an engineer. I worked for corporate America for a long number of years. I had my own consulting company, and now I run a real estate business here in Cobb County, right in my neighborhood. I'm married to my wife, who is a doctor, and we have 2 grown-up daughters, wonderful daughters. One is doing a medical school, and one is in MBA school. And
Wow.
I am a board member in Kiwanis Club, or should I say I was before this incident. And I volunteer quite a bit in our community. I volunteer in local public schools. I ring a bell for Salvation Army during Christmas time, among other stuff.
Yeah, I think if if I was a police officer, I would like to think that if someone said, that guy over there just tried to kidnap my baby and pointed at you, I would probably be like, huh? Your disposition and your demeanor doesn't exactly scream criminality. So I guess how caught off guard were you by these accusations at all? I mean, it just seems to me it would blow your mind.
Yeah, so this incident happened 3 nights before, and the police took out a warrant. So I happened to be driving home from Dalton, and in a rear view mirror, it's a Friday evening, Cobb Parkway, very busy traffic. And I saw 3 big SUVs in a distance. And I thought myself, I was like, they must be after somebody. And soon they're gonna pass by me. Instead, they literally have sirens going on, lights flashing, Officer surrounds my car. 3 officers came out, pointing gun at me, and literally, my heart stopped for a moment, and then they, had me taken out, getting out of the car, put me on the ground, handcuffed me, and the only thing they said is that you are under arrest. We have a warrant against you. No charges, nothing. My heart was beating like crazy, and I had thousands of thoughts go through my mind, especially the one about my elderly poor mother staying home by herself, waiting for me.
Wow. And she was the person who you were there searching for some medicine to help her, right?
Yeah, so 86-year-old mother of mine lives with her for the last 27 years, and she has a severe osteoarthritis. So one night she was out of Tylenol. So I told her after dinner that I'll go get it and I'll be back in 30 minutes. And that's when I went to Walmart on March 18th.
And was it Ackworth, Georgia, was the Walmart?
Yeah, it's the zip code belongs to Kennesaw, but it's part of the city of Ackworth, which is like 4 miles from my house.
And this is in Cobb County, Georgia, which is I would say a suburb of Atlanta, but not being an Atlanta native, I guess. Is that accurate? Yeah,
this is the big 3 counties surrounding Atlanta. One of them is a Cobb. And I live in a Cobb. I live in Kennesaw, city of Kennesaw. Okay. And Ackworth is part of Cobb County. How long had you lived in this area? I mean, you were a member of the Kiwanis Club, prior to this happening. So how long had you been involved in the community and been a community member there? Over 15 years. And I've been living in this house for 21 years. Once I got out of corporate world, getting involved in real estate since 2010, I've been involved in a local area. Can you walk us through what happened that day and how we ended up here? So like I said, on March 18th evening, around 8:30 or so, I went to Walmart in Kennesaw. And every time I go in a big box store, I get lost. That's why I avoid Walmart anyway. This may be my first trip in 2025. I was looking around the aisle in pharmacy. My wife was that time in Virginia, taking care of her mom. My 2 daughters are far away. One in Chicago, one is in Phoenix. So I couldn't find anybody. I look around for employees, and I saw this woman in a handicap, or they call motorized scooter, nearby. So I went and asked her and said, do you know where the Tylenol is? And she said, yeah, I would be happy to show you. And that is why I approached her. And she had 2 kids, one in her arm and another one was sitting on her lap. And she was having a hard time with this electric scooter. A lot of times she was abruptly stopping and accelerating. Sometimes she ran into some display unit. So in fact, I told her as well, just point me where it is and I'll go get it. So while she tried to turn it right, she clipped the corner and the kid seemed to be falling out of her arm. So I instinctively grabbed him and put him back in her lap, merely like 3-4 seconds of interaction. And I thanked her and I moved on, found another employee, got a Tylenol. On the way back to checkout counter, I saw her again. I saw her that I bought a Tylenol and said, thank you for your help. She gives me a thumbs up. I go to a checkout counter. I paid with my own credit card. On the way out, I talked with the greeter, like I always chat with people, for 30 seconds or more. After the incident, I stayed in Walmart for almost 8 minutes, and I calmly walked out of there, never thinking twice about this until 3 days later. Yeah, you saw this person, I guess, and it's kind of, it's not really funny because of the gravity of what happened, but it's like your entire family's gone and your elderly mother is wholly dependent on your ability to do something that admittedly you have a hard time doing, which is navigate a big store. And you probably just saw this lady as somebody who was helpful. So you were expressing gratitude. Yes, never occurring to you that she could even fabricate some criminal intent on your part. Absolutely not. If she had a problem, after I put her back, the kid in the lap, she pointed to me where the Tylenol was. She never expressed any discomfort or upset or anything like that. Otherwise, I could have stayed there. I could have talked to her. I could have talked to manager, but nothing seemed to be out of ordinary. And I was there for 8 minutes, so she could have talked about it, but nothing happened. And I remember in your bail hearing, which was an absolute ridiculous, that Ashley Merchant, who was your attorney, who was a brilliant lawyer, she had to go through so many legal hoops, procedural hoops, just to get you a day in court, just for somebody to talk about your case.
And I remember watching that video that she was showing of you going through all the store. After watching Caroline Miller attempt to use this cart, it reminded me of like a teenager, maybe even me, trying to learn how to drive a manual transmission car. Like it was just like all over the place. And I could see a world where you thought this kid was going to get cast out onto the ground. And what are you supposed to do as a father, as a parent, you know?
That's exactly right. I love kids. Like I said, I volunteer in Cobb County school districts. I'm not going to let this kid fall down on the ground, even if I get accused. That's who I am. And I never thought twice. It just instinctively, I grab it. And I know a thing or two about raising a kid. So trust me, I don't need any more kid in my life to take care of, because we know how to take care of kids.
Yeah. And I guess I'll find out if I'm weird or not when I ask you this question, because we had my son, my first wife and I had my son when I was 19. And, you know, we were babies just trying to raise a kid. I remember thinking just like sort of practicing in my mind. Okay, if the kid falls this way, if the kid falls that way, like you're having like this almost like a NFL pro day for dads in your mind. And you're like, there's no way that this kid's getting past me. If any kid falls anywhere, I'm going to catch it. That's how you become a hero as a dad. It's the only way you can, you know?
Yeah, agree, totally agree. I mean, you do whatever to protect your kid or anybody else.
And any kid, I know guys, that's our only like time to shine, is to like make sure we get all the things that we're told to get at the store and to pick up any falling child that might exist. Like that's just what you do.
Right. Yes, exactly. You're right.
And the sad part is, and I hope that the answer is that this wouldn't change you, because I think it's instinct. But, you know, will you think, what's the difference between a person taking a breath to analyze whether or not they should do that? The difference is maybe a catastrophic injury to a baby, you know?
Yeah. So, in fact, a lot of people after my incident saying, no, don't help anybody, don't do anything like that because you get wrapped up like I did. That's not the message I want to convey. We are a human being. We got to be very good human being, help each other out. There is always going to be a handful of people like Caroline Miller. If your karma is like this, what I spend, well, I mean, that's what it is. But we cannot stop helping each other. Otherwise, society will just become unlivable. I mean, nobody trusts nobody, and
I think that the sad reality that we are experiencing in the world, maybe, I mean, I don't have experience in the world. I have experience in the United States, but I think to me, our societal failures have a lot to do with seeing nefarious intent on behalf of good people expressing kindness, simply because you just look at them and assume that maybe they, you know, have some ill intent. Or in the case of Caroline Miller, I think as we sort of look at her past and how she's had a history of potentially drawing attention to herself for whatever reason that may or may not be, you know, there's clinical conditions of Munchausen's by proxy and those type of things that come up when you think about that. But what do you know about, is this her first incident of sort of creating a scenario that didn't exist?
No, see, we actually hired a private investigator to investigate and interview witnesses, including her record. We found out that she's 26-year-old. Within the last 7 years, she had over 20 encounters or listed on a police report. And one of them where she wrongfully accused a Lyft driver on her 21st birthday of assaying her or R-ing her. And that charge was dropped, and the guy he pleaded for disorderly conduct. But then she went out under oath and filed a national lawsuit against the Lyft, class action lawsuit, where under oath she said that she was R-ed, and it's public information. You can look it up. Literally lying under oath.
So let me unpack that. So you're saying that she's 26 years old. Your investigation uncovered that she's had 20 interactions with the police where she's made some allegation against another person. And one of those led all the way to a person who was a Lyft driver being charged for assault. And based on her accusation, and that charge was later pled down to disorderly conduct, and the actual was dismissed?
Yes, it is. It was dismissed. And I just wanted to point out, somehow she ran into those 20 police reports. Either she called, she was part of it, she was on the scene, whatever it is. In fact, the city of Acworth Police Department had encountered with her more than half a dozen times.
Okay,
Same
so
department.
this same department. And, oh, by the way, I think it came out afterwards that the prosecutor who was arguing against your bond is the former chief of police of that department. Is that true, or did I hear that somewhere and it's not accurate?
Yeah. Jesse Evans was a police chief of city of Acworth before he took on to ADA role in Cobb County.
Okay.
He is the one who trained his boys. So either he was trying to protect them or his reputation. But yeah, he was a police chief.
Well, I think we're given new meaning to the idea of kicking ass and taking names, because it seems to me like you're compiling a list of people that have caused you serious injury here. We're talking about life ruining things. You've lost your standing in the community. You've been accused of a heinous crime. And no apologies, best I can tell. Nobody saying, hey, I think I got this wrong. Even privately, has that happened?
No. I mean, in fact, the surgeon who put out a notice saying that, thank God that they caught me. Otherwise, and the mom was able to grab the kid back. Otherwise, kid could be injured, or worse yet, he could be dead on a local TV. And then we got all social harassments and hate online that I can't even fathom what people were saying, literally. Burning him alive, put him on a higher. And the warrant says they watched the surveillance video, and then they say I fled the scene. They watched the surveillance video.
When's the last time that you fled a scene, Mick?
If that was the way I fled it, that would be the slowest fled ever in the history of human being, ever.
Oh, man. It's not funny. But it's almost, you almost have to laugh at it to keep from crying, because it's devastatingly misrepresented. But I always say this to my audience, and if you watch any of my videos, you may have heard me say this. When it comes to legal analysis, nuance is everything. And one fact changes everything. And if somebody were just telling the story, I was in the store with my kid, he was in my lap, and I looked up, and before I knew it, this guy had my child in his arms. You did grab the child. That's the fact. But all of the context and nuance involved with that can change everything, because what you did before and after the fact, what you did in response and seeking her out and trying to figure out just a way to convey your gratitude for her helping you, all of those things, using your personal credit card, stopping to talk at the greeter, spending another 8 to 10 minutes between the store and the parking lot, and doing exactly what your entire story has been from the very beginning, are all completely antithetical to a person who was there to kidnap a child.
And it was all recorded on a video camera that police could have seen, and they saw it.
And available to them for them to make a decision about. And then if you consider the fact that they have a documented history with this lady making accusations at least 5 other times prior to this, you would think, what do you make of that?
You are a lawyer. You are an ex-police officer. I don't need to say much about it, but I think this whole system is corrupt, a better word. These guys either don't do the job or maybe racial profiling people. I have no idea. I can tell you this, they got a wrong guy, and they didn't do a research on it. And they literally thought that I would be one of those 99% of the people where we would hide the evidence, drag him in a public arena, have him lose everything he owns, and label him as a pedophile, kidnapper, whatever. And then eventually he will play it out and life will go on. That's it. That's what it is, James.
Well, because what they can do is they can take a guy who's out trying to make a living, who's, living paycheck to paycheck, or in the case of the Lyft driver, ride to ride to ride. If you're out driving Uber and Lyft, it's safe to say that the ends are not meeting very well, and you're trying to patch up some gaps, right? So they take a guy like that, and they're like, okay, well, you can take this sexual assault conviction, or you can plead out to this misdemeanor disorderly conduct and move on with your life. And if that guy's sitting in jail for 57 days like Mick Patel was, there's a good chance that he might be willing to do that. because he's got to get on with his life, right? And they did pick the wrong guy, and they're going to learn, I think, a very hard lesson about how that can mean more than one thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. Maybe God is working through me, because this goes on. Like you are in this arena. You know that this thing goes on across everywhere, and it's very sad. I just happen to be a blessed man to be able to afford a high-powered Ashley merchant and expose this whole thing. Unfortunately, still, they dragged down their feet. They refused to give a consent bond. They did not hand over the discovery. We have to go to Walmart and subpoena them to get the video out. And I have to take the case, we both have to, with Ashley, to the court of public opinion. There are over 92,000 people signed my petition. 92,000.
Wow. 92,000. And I would say that's probably the minority if you compare it to the people that were probably saying things about you online that had no evidence, right? I mean, that's probably a sliver of the people who saw this online and were exposed to it. Your whole life has been turned upside down over this. And it's, I say this sort of tongue in cheek, but some people might say, well, if you just got accused and you didn't go to jail, you might say, well, you don't have damages. Anybody who's had to hire Ashley Merchant and pay her fee to defend them in court has some financial damages, because she is not cheap, I'm sure.
Everybody would hire her. It costs a lot of money. We end up hiring private investigators. Upward of $100,000 we blow on this to get me where I am. And yeah, my family went through depression. Younger daughter who is in medical school started failing grades. Every time they call me, they start crying on a phone. They cannot even talk. It's a lot of emotional damage that goes on. I'm not the only victim. My whole family, friends lived through me.
Think if you just consider the totality of what we're talking about here, we have people of your family that are dependent on you. You have your wife off being a medical doctor, taking care of her mother in Virginia, and then you've got your elderly mother that's also dependent on you. It would be ignorant, frankly, willfully ignorant, to just assume that this only affected you. Take me into that moment where you have to explain to your wife that you just got arrested for felony attempted kidnapping and what her reaction was.
So what happened is she happened to be in Virginia. She also have a medical issues. So I don't find out my charges until next morning, early morning, when they handed over me the arrest warrant and say you denied a bond. Nobody told me, not even a good cop who interrogated me in Ackworth, that all he said was you are going to jail and we'll let you know. Nobody told me about my charges. So when next morning, very early morning, I saw that I was charged with assault, battery, and kidnapping, and then my jaw dropped. And kidnapping, and it says that I ran the store or fled the scene. I don't know. My heart probably stopped that time. And then they refused to let me call my older mom at home that night, waiting for me. The poor mom stayed past midnight waiting for me to come home. I couldn't talk to her. And then they confiscated my cell phone in Ackworth City Police Department. So I begged and I said, how many people phone number you know? I know my daughter the daughter who is in MBA, she was vacationing in Colombia, South America. And the other one is in a Pacific time zone. So I got two numbers. One for my dear friend, Melanie Bowling, who run a real estate attorney's office. And one my niece. So when I call early in the morning to Melanie Bowling, I was praying God that I hope she pick up the phone early Saturday morning. Who's going to pick up the phone? Unknown phone from jail. But she did. She picked up, and I told her I cannot explain you over the phone what the charges are, because there were other 50, 70 people in the front. It was a public place. But it's serious charge. And initially she told me that she's going to come and they will bond you out tomorrow morning. I was like, no. They denied the bond. So I won't be able to bond out. So right away, she got on a phone with my wife, my niece, and told my niece to come home from Cartersville to pick up my mom. And when she came here, she forgot the keys. She couldn't open my door. My mom is handicapped. She cannot walk. So she keep calling my daughter who is vacationing in Colombia, South America, and she opened a garage. Like, why are you keep calling me? Open a garage. I got to take my mom, grandma to my house. I'm like, what happened? He said, just Google your dad's name. So she literally Googled it from Colombia and found out that I was charged with kidnapping. And my All the people who had any interaction with me for 20 minutes in life thought that my identity was stolen. Everybody, including my wife, thought that my identity was stolen. Something
Yeah.
happened and we got picked up wrong guy. Look, if I did something wrong, I am, I deserve to be paralyzed. I get that. I'm a
Yeah.
reasonably, level-headed guy. If I don't even know anybody and somebody is accused of this thing, I would first want to say, James, last thing I know is people are innocent until proven guilty. So I'm going to wait until all the evidence comes out before I put my 2 cents on it. And I'm going to say he's innocent. That's what I will say.
I think that that's the way the majority of America sees things, but I also think that the majority of America does not represent the loudest voices in America until like election years. Everybody else that we hear their voices are online. And I think that that represents a very tiny portion, but those are the loudest voices and those are the opinions that you hear. And they are the ones that drive the information cycle and the news cycle and all that stuff. And of course, the news had no interest in doing anything other than turning this into corporate profit for corporate media, right? They didn't have any interest in finding the truth. It always has to suit whatever their agenda is, right? There's no deference to the objective truth, which is why I really love this platform, because the only thing I care about is the facts. I want to know what happened.
Well, in my case, media didn't jump on a bandwagon of, the minorities, and ACLU didn't come to defend me by any means.
Yeah.
I mean, I was not a minority in their narratives. My thing started going out once the video got released. Otherwise, nobody who talk about, social justice came knocking on my door for sure.
Right. Well, because there ain't a lot of Patels out there committing crimes. Like there's not a group of, Indian Americans who have stopped working long enough to ever go be criminals. You know what I mean? Like every person I've ever met who's an Indian American in my whole life has been like a hardworking, honest person. I've just never met anybody other than that with the last name Patel. And that's the honest to goodness truth. I just haven't.
Yeah, we are a hardworking, law-abiding citizens. I mean, we don't ask for handouts. I mean, we work like a dog. People may think that we are, making whatever money or something. I mean, behind the scene, I mean, how hard people work, it. I mean, you happen to be experienced with it. I mean, we never... we came here for a better life, James. I mean, and this country has given me a lot more than what I expected. Okay, I love this country. Every Patel I know, they love this country. I mean, we work hard. This is the country where you can work hard, be honest, and get on with your life. That doesn't happen everywhere. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, but it's difficult. I can only imagine what it might feel like to realize that what sort of American dream and then have it sort of stripped from you without merit within 60 days,
Well, yeah, I mean, there is not a single ounce in my blood about racism or hatred, non-single, James. I know everybody as a human being and I treat them like they're supposed to be treating me. I never play a card. It's easy to do that. Whenever I was in a corporate America, if I have to prove myself that I'm good enough, worthy enough to do the job, I'll take that challenge. You give me an opportunity and I'll prove it. And if I am not good enough, you fire me. And that's how I operated. I never played the race game, never think that, I should be treating people different way. Never did it. This is the best country we can live in on this planet, right? It's not the perfect. We're trying to make it perfect. That's why we're talking here. India is a democratic country as well, but there is a class-based society over there, right? And when I came here, I was a 25-year-old engineer, very young age. We have better opportunity here than obviously in India. And that is why all of them are here or trying to come here for a better life.
Yeah, this is the one place where you can actually put your head down and work hard, and you can actually just be sort of the master of your own destiny. That's not a cliche. That's a real thing. And it's nice to hear that from somebody that's actually lived through it and has come over here and actually put the work in and seen the fruits of it. But the other side of that double-edged sword is that it can be taken away. And you wouldn't think that it would be that way, given that one of the tenets of the fabric of our society is innocence until guilt is proven. But for whatever reason, with social media, all of that changed, I think, at least on the
Yeah.
public forefront.
Yeah, I'm not naive anymore enough to think that your life could be turned upside down in a matter of minutes, seconds. Um, and whatever you build for life, in order to build your reputation, your honor, your people's trust, it takes long, long, long time. And it could be taken away in a moment, just like what happened with me. Like I said, I happen to be lucky enough. Otherwise, my life would be completely upside down. I could be still sitting in jail as
Well,
we
and thank
speak.
goodness that it was on video. And that's why I always tell my audience to document their interactions with the police, because at least it was on video. And now all the people that knew that if somebody said, well, Mick Patel did this, they were like, huh? That's not true. His identity's been stolen. At least the video has been able to reassure them that, the character choice that they made about you, and as soon as they heard this, was 100% in line with who they knew you to be.
Agreed.
And
Like I said, thanks to the video, you're right. Like Kiwanis Club wants to have me back over there. If it wasn't for video, I won't be able to do anything. But my mugshots would stay there on internet for generations, and there is always a possibility after 15 years, somebody playing in a playground, I walk by like, well, did you see that? Somehow he got out of it, but he was charged with kidnapping. So that thing would never go away.
Yeah, and it warms my heart so much to know that, okay, well, maybe you have like a healthy distrust of what people's subjective motives are, but you're still not going to let any kids hit the ground while you're around,
Absolutely not.
Because it's not the baby's fault that his mother has whatever she has going on. And the class action lawsuit is quite a revelation. So you mentioned that before. She actually joined in a class action lawsuit that people had filed because they had been assaulted in some way by a collection of Lyft drivers, and she, having secured some sort of a conviction for him, for disorderly conduct, threw her hat in the ring and collected some money from that.
Yeah, it seems like she settled a case or with a Lyft. And under oath, she lied that she was raped as a plaintiff.
So do you have any information? Was your investigation ever, was it fruitful in determining why they did not proceed on the actual charges of sexual assault? Was it that they didn't find her to be credible? Was it that she recanted? Or was it that they just didn't believe they could prove it beyond a reasonable doubt?
I think with the evidence, they couldn't even charge him with that. So the charge was not even made for that particular charges. In fact, she called she was texting her boyfriend, and boyfriend is the one who called 911. After a few minutes, boyfriend called again and say, was she arrested? Her girlfriend, which is Caroline Miller. Like, why? Well, he said that she's acting weird all day. That's what her boyfriend told. It's on a police report.
Wow. And so maybe the disorderly conduct had to do with something that this Lyft driver did during the police interaction, and that's potentially why they included that. That is just insane to me. But I love that you're not just gonna tuck this in your cap and move on with your life. I see an activist being born here, at least on some level. What's next for you in sort of retribution? No, I won't call it retribution. You're not a retribution guy. I can tell that. But what's next for you so that you make sure that this doesn't happen to anybody else?
Well, if you start with accuser, I mean, she got to stop. She got to go find another job to do and make a living. I mean, you cannot go around ruining people's life. Second thing is, I think the police officers, like I said, I've been asking them to apologize, own up to it. I mean, we are all human beings. We make mistakes, and we apologize and move on. It's just not that hard. But I haven't heard anything from them, neither do from DA's office. You probably know that in Georgia, the law is like you could prosecutor can hold the evidence until 10 days before the trial. That's just the law it is. We need to work on it to change this. We got to make a level playing field for defense attorneys and their defense. We don't do that. We also, when you are denied a bond, there must be a handover of discovery where both sides can argue against in front of the judge, and not just indict people without have their day on the court, which never happened with me. They not only gave not give us the evidence, but they went ahead and indicted me, not showing a video to a grand jury, not showing, and they're saying that there was some technical difficulties. That is wrong. They got to stop that. Also, they are very quick to go out on the media and put out a statement and make you a lifetime, criminal guy in front of people. But when we start doing that, try to put a gag order on us. That's what exactly they did. Try to, at least with me and Ashley Merchant, they try to gag us, saying that victim was getting harassment, online harassment. Who cares about Patel getting harassment? Doesn't matter. My name was out there, and everybody assumed, who don't know me, that I did something, but they don't care. But when they got in a hot seat, they want to gag you. It's a two-sided system.
So at what point, at what stage in the proceedings did they try to place a gag order and prevent you from coming forward with this information?
Right before we published the video. They
Really?
put a motion out there before Ashley Merchant got a video. They put out a gag order. As soon as they indicted me, the court my case got moved on into the superior court. That's where they put a gag order on. And thankfully, the judge didn't approve it, but they didn't want us to go out and show our side. Of course not, right?
I've been following a case out of Woodstock, Georgia, and I've had the victim on this. It's a warrantless home invasion. Natasha Lopez.
I'm familiar with that.
She is dealing with the same. They want to control the narrative, and then they want to come out and say, "Well, we investigated ourselves and we found no wrongdoing," which is the golden line, and they fight tooth and nail against transparency while standing in the face of the public talking about transparency and justice and all this stuff. Justice to them is whatever they can persuade you to believe justice is. It's not an objective view at what justice is.
Yeah, and you know why? Because they are getting away with this stuff. People believe blindly. We put a trust on these people. They're supposed to be the side of the truth. You're supposed to be helping people. So we put a blind trust, and they are abusing it. They are literally abusing their power to do that, and they are getting away with it. When rare case, the case gets exposed, like mine, truth comes out, but it's very rare that it comes out.
And it's so amazing because a lie can never defeat the truth. It can win battles, but it cannot win the war against truth. And when truth is right in front of your face, I think at a minimum we should expect our, I'll say leaders for lack of a better term, but the people who've been elected to represent us in government, I think at a minimum we should be able to ask of them that if you have objective truth in front of you, that you don't make stupid decisions about it and then try to suppress it because it's awfully inconvenient all of a sudden when other people find out.
Well, when you are in a power and you get bigger and bigger power, it's very hard to apologize, James. When you are a little guy, you can apologize. When you are a big guy, you don't want to show your weakness. You want to double down, triple down, and go on. And I think they also have their position that is respected in the public, so they can get away with this. You and me cannot do that. Yeah. And in my case, like I said, it was an exception because they do get away with it. So what happened in a typical scenario, at least in Georgia, would be I would be without bond, rotting in jail for a couple of years, and then no evidence came out. My name is out there. My family is just vilified in the media. And after that, my defense attorney will come back to me. They realize there's no video. There's no way they can get me in. So they will say, well, we'll do a plea on it. He already served 1 year, 2 year. Maybe we'll put a slap at 10-year probation or 5 year. That's where a negotiation will happen. And,
let's plead him to disorderly conduct and give him his freedom back, right. And he'll be happy with
that. And then my family, guess what? My loved one, my wife and kids would be begging me and say, Dad, please take this plea. And say, you know what I would be saying? No, that is wrong. I'm not going to do it. They would say, please be level-headed, because probability, if you do something happen, you would be there for a long time. So everybody would be pressuring me, and I will be forced to take the plea. And that's what exactly happened. And truth never comes out.
Yeah, and then the other thing is too is your mother is ailing and she's 86, and what's the potential that this is going to put her in an early grave, and you're going to miss that, and it's the ramifications and the ripple effect that these things have on people's lives is immeasurable, and nobody ever talks about it.
I agree. To this day, my mom doesn't know that I was violently arrested. Poor mom probably would have a heart attack and die. Yes, she doesn't know. In fact, she was keep asking me, where am I? Because I used to do consulting and I was always traveling, so I would come back in a week. Well, it was more than 6 weeks gone by, everywhere together. Where is my son? What happened? Did he go to India? Did he go to Japan? He calls from out of country too. So she was lost. She was confused where I was.
So she still doesn't know.
She doesn't know at this, not at this point at all.
Wow.
No.
Well, I'm certainly glad to hear that you are, at least at this point, compiling names of people who may or may not future be defendants in a lawsuit and considering to whom to deliver notice, because I don't think you get any accountability for any or prevent this from happening to anybody else if we just let it go. There's too much. You've already lost too much to not at least try to recover some of it and make sure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, I mean, look, the cost wise, I can bear it, whatever it is. But if I have to do justice, especially because I had a wide support from all over the community, including Cobb County and beyond, what a waste of my effort or this whole ordeal if I let it go. I'm not going to let this thing go quietly because I'm not worried about me. I'm worried about other future innocent people getting locked up. And there got to be some repercussion on this thing.
Well, and this is not, you just on a sort of a pragmatic level, this is not why you get out of corporate employment and transition into real estate investment and free yourself up from debt and create financial security so that you can spend your 50s in a Cobb County jail, right? That's not why you do all that stuff.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Especially if you didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine? I was in a corporate, which I was an executive in corporate world. I got arrested. I would be instantly fired.
Oh yeah.
Right? Who's going to pay for my mortgage? Who is going to take care of my daughter who is in medical school? This is a ramification. The only reason why I am not affected through my employment is because I'm in a real estate. Otherwise, my life would be completely upside down within 57 days. I mean, how many days it takes? You going out of town, you probably plan for it. I was in jail for 47 days without any plan whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah. And without having done anything to deserve it. How were you treated in the jail? Just as somebody who never expected to be there.
Well, my news again, because thanks to media frenzy, it spread like a wildfire in the jail with the kidnapping charge and the kids. I started getting harassment, threats, humiliation. People started demanding money. I was not safe at all. I at one point, in fact, I talked to Ashley and told her that is there any way I could get in a protective custody or they call solitary confinement, because I was so afraid of it. People were making all kind of joke like, what are you going to do? Cut off the kid and eat it up? We'll take care of you if you ever get out of this place. Constantly, every day. Especially when I was in an open dorm, I couldn't sleep at night. I started having a nightmare. Some of the inmates told me that you are showing a sign of PTSD. I lived off bread, peanut butter, and milk. I lost over 17 pounds while I was in jail. I didn't get my blood pressure medicine for several days. One morning, I fell off the top bunk bed, started bleeding on my both knees, and had a severe chest pain because I hurt myself. Pain lasted for months. The only reason I kept me insane in an insane place is my spirituality and belief in God. I was studying Bibles and reading Hindus, Bhagavad Gita. It was a very difficult time of my life. Every moment, I mean, we are active outside, and when you are inside, I mean, every hour looks like a whole day.
Yeah.
It was very, very sad moment, especially when I get on call with my family members and they start crying, and it was very difficult.
Yeah. And it's the other thing is like, it's not like you were the only person working through sort of the stages of grief. Like all of the people who knew that you didn't have any business being there and didn't have any control over the situation were dealing with their own psychological stuff. And you're trying to be strong. They're trying to be strong. And none of you can do anything about it. How has that affected you moving forward? Like what kind of long-term effects has it had on your ability to sleep, your ability to process emotionally, any of that stuff?
Well, I sometimes, have a hard time sleeping it's getting improved, but sleep is definitely affected. Some of the emotions comes out when somebody bring up the topic of either jail or what we went through. I get emotional and especially my wife didn't talk to people. She was in a depression for days. She won't even talk to anybody. My two of my friends didn't even do justice to their business because they were working day and night to get people rally behind me. One is being Melanie Bowling, and another friend of mine, Hasmukh Patel from Dallas, Texas. So a lot of people's job was on hold while I was inside. I mean, our real estate business literally come to halt because my wife couldn't handle it, and they confiscated my cell phone. So anytime you want to go to even company's bank website, you need a two authentication. They don't have an email access. They don't have a contact for our contractors, tenants, and they illegally took out a warrant to search my cell phone after 1 month when we asked them to return the cell phone.
Oh, that's when they decided to get a warrant to search it when you wanted it back?
So what happened is every time I talk to my wife or something about, because they will say there's a problem going on in the real estate and we cannot get a hold of it. So I said, hey, talk to Ashley to get the phone back, because phone is held up at the Ackworth, not at the jail. It was held up at the City of Ackworth Police Department. So Ashley sent a repeated email and say, hey, I would personally come and get it. Because they need the cell phone. So instead of giving that, after 3 days going back and forth or repeatedly asking for cell phone, they went out in a court and took out a warrant, general warrant, saying that they wanted to get my GPS data. Well, allegedly crime was committed in Walmart, and if you need a GPS data, go to my carrier, go find it. Instead, they took out an illegal warrant after almost 30 days.
Goodness gracious. If you were, and I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, so this is not going to be an exhaustive list, but I would feel like I did you a disservice if I didn't give you an opportunity. And I can't tell you that 100,000 people are going to watch this video, but what I can do is I can offer you an opportunity while you're here to say thank you to the people, if you want to. Who would you thank for all of the support and putting their lives on hold and bending over backwards to help you? The floor is yours if you want to take some time to do that.
Yeah, I will start out with my daughter, Elena Patel. She's a 26-year-old who is in Chicago living, and she's the one hired our high-powered Ashley Merchant. She's the one went out and hired her. And one time I asked her how much it cost. She said, Dad, we will sell everything we own if we have to for your defense. So don't worry about it. She would never tell me how much it's going to cost. So she's the one. Second one I would like to thank is my wife, of course, put up with me and went through this hell while her health is not right. And her name is Alpa Patel. She's a doctor. And my other daughter, Ivani, which almost went in a depression, started feeling great in Mayo Clinic Medical School. Melanie Bowling, she's out of Ackworth, Georgia. She's the first one to put out a post on a Facebook right after 3-4 days and say, I know him. He's my dear friend. And this seems completely out of character for him. I would never imagine he will do such thing like that. He's a very intelligent guy. And I will wait until more evidence comes out. But he's innocent. And once she said that, she has a very high reputation in our community, and people started going forward with it. I wanted to also thank one of my best childhood friend who lives in Dallas, Texas. He literally put his business on hold for entire more than 2 months to work on my case, working with media, working with Indian communities, because the Indian community was slow to join the party behind. I had more support from American people than Indian at the beginning. He's the one who roused up people from all over the country. He was at a bond hearing as well to defend me.
Wow, and all the way from Dallas.
All the way from Dallas, he flew in over here. I had multiple people flew in from out of state. My sister and their family from Florida, my brother from Mississippi, another one from Tennessee, friend of mine. Quite a few people came from all over.
Wow.
And I wanted
How fortunate
to thank them.
you are.
I'm blessed. I'm telling you, I wish I could see and meet everybody and personally thank them. I mean, I had unbelievable support. Like I said a couple of days ago, I was speaking at the annual gala on a one of the news magazines, and so many people I never met came back to me and literally were showing me text that they were texting to their groups and say, hey, support this guy. And they were so proud of showing me. It teared me up. And so I would never know who supported me, but I wholeheartedly wanted to thank each and everyone for helping me.
Sure.
And without their support, I could be still inside.
I think we can depend on Ashley Merchant's law firm, since she's gotten an undisclosed, very high amount of money out of this case, to send out some thank you cards all over the country. I'm sure she'll appreciate me saying that.
I would like to thank Ashley and her husband John for really sticking by me from the get-go. She knew as soon as my daughter talked to her that this was the wrong guy, and she never blinked.
She's a rock star, and if I ever got arrested in Georgia, I'd scrape up whatever I had to together in order to hire her, because she's one of the best lawyers that I've ever known about. Because the thing that makes an incredible lawyer is their unwillingness to back down from the thing that they believe is true. And she has that in a way that, I mean, when all the stuff happened with Brian Steele getting arrested, when he got in trouble with the judge, it was Ashley Merchant that went in there cleaning freaking house. And she was the one who, and she doesn't care. It doesn't bother her when they hate her. Like, she just goes in there and just sweeps it up every time. And she's just like, she's one of my heroes in the law. She really is. So it's awesome that you got an opportunity to be represented by her.
Yeah, I think I'm glad you bring up the Brian Steele's case because that's the video literally made our mind up to hire her, literally, because we saw her in action.
Yeah, and that was such an incredible situation, and she did such an incredible job for Brian Steele. And my understanding is, well, Brian Steele's a phenomenal attorney too, but my understanding is that they're pretty tight-knit in the defense bar there, and they were just all banded together to try to get through that situation. So I'm really happy that you ended up with her and that you had the means to do it. But there are a lot of people who could never afford to hire somebody of Ashley's caliber, and they're sitting in jails all over the United States right now. Maybe they're not as egregiously overcharged as you, but there are innocent people out there who've been accused of even more serious things than you were accused of, and no one cares to hear their story. So it's really important, and it's really admirable that instead of just tucking this away and trying to move on and sort of reassemble the pieces of your life, you're actually just going to go out and build it while including a bunch of other causes that are near and dear to make sure that you can do as much good as you possibly can moving forward.
That is it. That's exactly right. I mean, I'm gonna work on it. Like I said, I think we are comfortable people now. I mean, what am I going to do for a lot of hours rest of my life? So we will dedicate our time to help others. I mean, who are wrongfully. I mean, I saw in a jail, people don't have money to even bail out themselves. It's just a very sad situation.
Or even eat commissary or call their people or anything, you know? I mean, it's horrible. It's horrendous. And look, I'm not one of these people that thinks that you shouldn't lock people up. Some people need to be locked up. No, they do, but you're just not one of them, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly right. They're supposed to be going after truth and not filling their quota.
It would be different if the facts weren't so glaringly obvious in this case. It would be different if she didn't have the history. And a lot of her history is tied to this one police department. They have all of this information at their fingertips when they're making decisions. And the way they chose to go about it, securing a direct presentment indictment, all of that stuff showed that they had no interest in anybody finding out. Like, to me, it seemed like a cover-up. I was even suspicious that, because you know that nobody there likes Ashley Merchant, I was even suspicious that once she got hired, they doubled down even more so that they didn't have to concede that she was right again, you know?
Yeah, so what happened is, I think Ashley Merchant got hired from the get-go. Once I was in jail on Saturday, she was on board on Tuesday, 3 days by. As soon as my daughter flew in from Colombia, she hired her. So as soon as she put in, I don't know you know or not, but there's some political animosity because our dear DA over here, Sonia Allen, came straight from Penny Willis. Where,
I mentioned that in my second video on that.
And as soon as she got on board, and Jesse Evan, who was a police chief from the Ackworth, they thought that, okay, this may be a time for them to show her. And day after, they went hard on, actually, on me because of that.
I was suspicious of that. I just can't imagine that office just sort of laying down and taking it, especially as much egg as there was on their face once the video came out. I couldn't imagine them just laying down and taking it and not at least doubling down. It's just pride and ego. I just think politics have no business in the criminal justice system. I really think that's the root of all of it.
I agree. Both parties guilty of it. I agree with her. And then when she quietly dropped the charge, you know, because I demanded that we demanded with Ashley that we're going to go to speedy trial. We're not going to take anything.
Yeah.
Either you drop it with, plain and simple, or we are taking you to trial. So when we told them very next day, Sonia will call and let our attorney know that we will be dropping the charges. But then,
amazing.
And then but what happened is there is a victim's rights here, in order to either exonerate somebody or getting out on a bond, you got to let the victim know. So it was one of those things to check mark on. So she went on a politically correct, outside after that, because it supposedly be a confidential thing. But she said that both parties agree that end of the justice has been met.
The
and
ends
we
of
are
justice.
dropping the charges. Exactly. Like I said, drop my charges. Well, I was doing that from the get-go, from the first day. If you listened to me, you could have dropped it a long time ago. So she made it sound like we both agree on that.
Yeah. What if we made it to where the beginnings of justice were considered instead of just the ends of justice, right? And we start from the freaking get-go with the facts instead of mixing all this bullshit in there and ruining people's lives just because you can and nobody can do anything to you.
Yeah. And then what happened is after the bond hearing, this other ADA, Jesse Evans, literally got off my case. And when time came to drop the charges, neither do Sonia Allen, who was present in a bond hearing, or Jesse Evans, nowhere to be found, and left to that ADA to drop the charges.
Yeah,
so
of course.
See,
a coward's way out.
Stop there. Buck doesn't stop there. Exactly. I was a leader in my private world. When employee make a mistake, I'll own up to it. I will say, I will take a responsibility for it. She didn't do that.
Well, isn't it amazing? The defendant never gets to proxy out somebody else, right? I mean, if you proxy out somebody else, you're immediately suspicious that they're not telling the truth. The defendant never gets that privilege of saying, well, I'll just have somebody else sit in jail for me. Nobody, you don't get that privilege when you're the defendant. And the rights, the constitutional rights are supposed to all be in support of the defendant. So, well, Mick, listen, it warms my heart that you trusted me enough. You reached out to me. I wouldn't have, honestly, I was surprised to learn that you knew I existed. Sometimes I forget that I have an audience of a lot.
I told you that. That you don't underestimate yourself. People like me are watching you. And that's how I was watching stuff, and I sent you the email that time. I sent you email and thank you, James. I mean, there are a lot of friends of yours everywhere. Okay. And keep up the good work, because I said, media is not doing a work that you are doing. And I truly appreciate that. On behalf of anybody defending that, we need you. We need you.
Thank you for that. And thank you for being willing to tell this story. And look, I was always told that if you always tell the truth, you never had to remember what you told somebody. So it's easy to just tell the facts when you didn't do anything wrong, right? And so I appreciate the fact that you're willing to relive this really for the benefit of other people, because I'm sure there's some therapeutic value in you speaking it again and all that, and you're working your way through the emotional stuff. But it's not like you have to talk about it the way that you were willing to here. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for taking the time, and thank you for trusting us. And thank you for deciding to be a voice for other people moving forward. I can't wait to find out what I'm sure will be a fantastic lawsuit is going to uncover. And I can't wait to hear the updates, and we'll certainly keep the audience informed as to how these things unfold. But I just wanted to thank you for your time, and thank you for taking time away from your family to talk to me and giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, sir.
In closing, guys, I just want to bring up a few things that we could not mention in this video at the time that I recorded it. First and foremost, Mr. Patel is one of the nicest people that you will ever meet in your life. I'm honored that he trusted me enough to share his story with me. He reached out to me to thank me after I made the update video, and I invited him to come on. This has been an incredible experience for me. But Mr. Patel provided me with some court documents that proved unequivocally that Caroline Miller perjured herself in the course of signing up as a class action lawsuit plaintiff to sue Lyft for assault that never happened. And as a result of that, though the actual terms of the settlement were confidential, it is believed that Ms. Miller received a very large amount of money, potentially up to $500,000 from Lyft, in order to be paid off as a plaintiff in this lawsuit. Again, this guy was not convicted. He wasn't even formally charged with any assault, he was convicted of disorderly conduct. Now, at the time that I interviewed Mick, the city of Ackworth had not been served with a notice of claim. But right after our interview ended, he emailed me a copy of their response. They, of course, denied liability, and now they're going to have to face the wrath of Ashley Merchant, as is likely the Cobb County DA's office for malicious prosecution, as is likely Caroline Miller for defaming Mr. Patel and making a career out of being a professional victim. And I just want to say, one thing that Mick Patel said to me over and over and over again, whether it was on or off camera, is that all he ever wanted from anyone involved in this was an acknowledgement of personal responsibility and an apology. He didn't want or need money. He's been a very successful man. He's raised very successful and incredibly strong and resilient daughters, and he's done it with a commitment to doing things the right way, being an ethical person and holding himself accountable while teaching that same character trait to his children. All he wanted was for the people who wronged him to do the same thing. And that's a lesson for any officer who watches my content or any city official who watches my content. Look, the city or county is probably not ever going to admit liability, but you, as the police officer, have the ability as a human being, or if you're not a police officer, some government agent, you have the ability as a human being to recognize where you made a mistake and just apologize. It literally could be the difference between getting sued and losing your house or having a successful career where you learn from your mistakes and become a better, more evolved human being. And all it takes is to hold yourself accountable for your actions and say you're sorry when you did something wrong. And that really shouldn't be too much to ask of people who are agents of an institution that seeks to hold people accountable for their actions. And one final thought that I just wanted to share with you about Mick Patel, just to show you how good he really is of a human being. There was some mention of him being a real estate investor. He actually owns a daycare that enrolls 100 children. And the people who bring their children to the daycare that he owns think so highly of him that after all this was over and he was freed and charges were dismissed and all that stuff, one of the people who have their children enrolled at that daycare jokingly said to Mick something along the lines of, if they knew you, they'd know you had a daycare and you wouldn't have to snatch some kid from Walmart because you have 100 of them here. Guys, listen, trust me. If people like you and think highly enough of you to tease you like that after you've been through something as harrowing as what he's been through, it's because they see a person of high value and solid, impenetrable character in front of them. They like and respect that person, and they feel comfortable joking around about something that's so serious. And I saw the exact same thing in the short period of time that I was able to sit down with Mick Patel. So I consider Mick Patel to be one of my new friends. I wish him the very best. I hope sincerely that he ends Caroline Miller's career as a professional victim. I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch it. I ask you to check us out on all of the socials. You can find them here by scanning the QR code on the screen. If you're interested in joining a paid tier of Substack, that is an option, but only for people who want to support the channel monetarily. I don't put anything on these platforms that people have to pay for. We also have Facebook, TikTok. That link will take you all the way there. You can sign up for all of them. If you don't want to follow the other platforms, but you would like to support monetarily, I'll leave my Venmo and PayPal links both here on the screen as well as in the description. Please remember to like and subscribe and leave a comment on the video. Check out some of the other videos on the channel and leave a comment on there as well. Until I see you again, take care. Always film your interactions with the police and keep your evidence to yourself.